We welcome in Frank Seravalli to the big program. Good morning, Frank. Man, oh man, what do you make of this news this morning with the Oilers?
Not entirely shocked, Kevin.
Okay.
I think, look, Stan Bowman was always going to be very high on their list. And when you consider even 1 year ago around this time while he was still suspended, I believe that Stan Bowman was one of the people on the Edmonton Oilers list to talk to for the job that ended up going to Jeff Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
He's a highly accomplished NHL executive, three-time Stanley Cup winner with the Chicago Blackhawks. And as soon as his name was cleared by the NHL for having served his punishment for his role in the alleged cover-up, that he was going to be very high on the Oilers list.
I can tell you the reaction from our text line is very heavily tilted in Oiler Nation not being happy with the hire.
That's a shame.
Yeah, this is the reaction you figured would happen?
Look, I think there's been very little that to my knowledge, I don't think we've heard Stan Bowman really talk much directly about this subject at all.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't really heard much from Joel Quenneville. And guess who we never heard from once? And that's John McDonough, who was the president and CEO of the Chicago Blackhawks and the guy who was really behind the cover-up and who was ultimately responsible.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, we'll never hear from him again because he's just faded into oblivion. And now Stan Bowman will have his chance today at the press conference. Is the first time he's going to be speaking to really hear his side of the story. And what I would ask, having done reporting on the subject and understanding exactly what Stan Bowman was aware of and when and what more he could have done, just for Oilers fans' knowledge, the first time that Stan Bowman heard of the gruesome details that are in the Jenner and Block report was when he actually read the document.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what was relayed to him at that moment in time from a member of the coaching staff. That's not at all what he heard from Kyle Beach. And so what I would urge Oiler fans to do is feel free to pass judgment, but at least let him speak his side of the story first before you pass judgment.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, like some of the questions, what do you think he's going to say this morning at 10:30? Because as you said, Frank, he hasn't really spoken about this, since it happened.
You're going to hear the authentic version of the story from his point of view, which is wildly different than the one that's been portrayed publicly. And I think everyone has to put themselves in the shoes of an executive in that period in time with the exact details and knowledge that he had. You know, we all would handle certain things differently, and Stan Bowman, I'm sure, will be the first to say that there were mistakes made, but to think that he was part of some, mastermind of some scheme to cover this up and throw Kyle Beach and other players and then the people that had the collateral effects to this by way of, what happened following from Brad Aldrich, like to think that he was part of covering all that up in the name of just trying to win a championship. I think that's a judgment that is a pretty harsh one to pass on someone. And I think you have to put yourself in their shoes to understand what they heard and when, and then what were the actions, what was he told from his boss, John McDonough, at that period in time. When your boss tells you, hey, I've got this, I'll take care of it. I mean, that's generally usually how it works in a chain of command once you begin to hear things.
Frank, in the due diligence world here, would it be safe to say that Jeff Jackson spoke to the leadership group, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, et cetera, about this?
I can't answer that question because I don't know. I mean, I would just assume that in terms of any major decision that happens, I would assume that those guys are made aware, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, Frank, I know you got a couple more minutes, or do you got to get rolling here? I wasn't sure of the timeline.
Yep, got a couple minutes here.
Okay. What do you think? Reaction around the league? Other teams. What do you think it's going to be today?
Oh, I think again, once you heard the moment that Stan Bowman was cleared, I mean, there were certainly going to be a number of teams that were interested in order to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And the Oilers had an opening at a moment in time when, Ken Holland's contract expires. Jeff Jackson did great work in the 6 weeks or so that he was, serving as the interim GM and put this team on a path to succeed. Now let's see, and I'm sure it'll be interesting to hear, in addition to Stan Bowman answering questions about what happened with the Blackhawks, will be what's his vision for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed in the Oilers press release this morning that in Jeff Jackson's comments, the phrase best in class was italicized. And, just speaking to people who have an understanding of Jeff Jackson's vision and what he's looking for the Oilers, I'm sure that there's a part of Stan Bowman that feels, that he's going to be in lockstep with what they're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. When you say that, yeah, I get that best in class, because I saw that too, Frank, but I also saw the work he has done in his time away from the game. How much do you think that comes into play here?
A lot. Go back and read the 4-page letter from Sheldon Kennedy
Mm-hmm.
and the Respect Group about a week or 10 days ago. That is as full-throated of a supportive, this guy has authentically done the work. I mean, some of the highlights of that letter, all of which I was aware of, many other people around the league were aware of, the work that Stan Bowman had authentically done to take on a near full-time workload, traveling around the continent, implementing and writing the curriculum for this program. This isn't just a fly-by-night, I'm doing community service to try and rehab my image. This is someone who actually cares. And again, I pass judgment all you want. I just urge you going in, let him speak his piece for the first time. That's all.
Hey, Frank, really appreciate it. I know you got about a million of these to do today. And while you were enjoying a couple of days off, just a quick, have you had some time to just decompress here after a busy time?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And days like today give you a little shot in the arm again. So
boy, do they ever.
For you, Kevin, anything.